How do L1 Chinese varieties affect L2 English pronunciation? By analysing phonological features, we investigate the effects that a learner's L1 has on their English language learning experience and pronunciation. In Hong Kong, the colonisation of the British continues impacting how people identify with speaking Cantonese and English and tells much about class status and access to education. Between Cantonese and English, there are phonologically similar aspects. When learning English, the segmental phonology of Cantonese assists L1 Cantonese speakers' development of expressive vocabulary knowledge or wording. The following pairs demonstrate this. In Cantonese, fa or fa, and in English, present versus present. The similarity between features can assist learners' memory of L2 by connecting the two languages together. Cantonese speakers often pronounce words like produce or professional differently due to differences in both languages' phoneme inventory. Research shows L1 phonological features are transferred in L2 pronunciation. Since the approximant R is non-existent in Cantonese, speakers often delete it when it follows a plosive. Language contact between English and Cantonese dates back over 300 years and has led to the borrowing of English words. In phonetic transliteration, Cantonese syllables with pronunciations similar to the source word are used to imitate pronunciation. As Cantonese English evolves and loanwords increase, interference with the language learning of English pronunciation develops. Language learning first takes place at home and begins with the perception of language-related sounds. The use of home language by parents in child-directed speech influences the language learning process. A study suggests that phonological development in its successive bilingual children is different to that of monolingual children. There are many factors in the home language immersion process that may affect a child's L2 pronunciation, but parents' perception of language prestige is what we'll focus on. These perceptions govern the types of language activities and the opportunity to practice L2 at home. In this sense, learners' Cantonese English pronunciation is also affected. And apart from family factors, the age of the learner also affects L2 pronunciation. Older learners generally have better English pronunciation than younger learners, but only if the former acquires more English norms than the latter. Looking at middle school students in China, we find senior students tend to have better English proficiency in pronunciation than those in lower grades with the norm uptake. Following on, we understand that L2 learners' proficiency affects their acquisition of target language norms. Given these findings, it is notable that Cantonese English learners are not inherently better in pronunciation than other Chinese variety learners. Due to its international environment, Cantonese learners in Hong Kong are more likely to meet with English speakers who can assist pronunciation improvement. Older learners have more exposure to professional English in the workplace.
Discussing how Chinese varieties influence the pronunciation of L2 English, the southwestern Mandarin groups are often being discussed. Compared with eastern China near the sea, southwestern China is an economically underdeveloped region and educational resources are lacking in some remote places. Imprecise English pronunciation from the southwestern Mandarin group can be found in several instances. A common feature that occurs in consonant pronunciation is the omission of the word final n. For example, learners often read the word afternoon as afternoon, where the n has been omitted unconsciously. Also, speakers are found to insert a schwa before word final n. In this case, the word afternoon is pronounced afternoon. This is probably because the schwa insertion makes the final n easier to pronounce. The fricative consonant ja is often replaced by ya. So when learners want to express the word pleasure, they often pronounce as player. As for the diphthong, this group often reduces it to a single vowel. The sound I is often pronounced as eh. For instance, wow and tried are often pronounced as well and tread. An important reason explaining the imprecise pronunciation is the great complexity of Chinese ethnic groups in that region. Approximately 30 other ethnic groups inhabit southwestern China. These various ethnic groups are required to use Mandarin in school, but they often use their own languages when they are at home. The complexity in their linguistic components and an underdeveloped economy jointly affect the pronunciation of English. International trade hasn't developed much in northeastern China. As a result, there is less exposure to English language. People in that region have spoken a Chinese variety called Habanese. That, plus the impacts of economic inequity, results in limited opportunity to learn English. Subsequently, family-directed English learning seldom occurs. Since English has become a compulsory subject at school, there is opportunity to notice how Habanese affects learners' phonological acquisition. Due to different consonant systems of English and Habanese, students of Northeast China find it difficult to acquire consonants absent from their own system. Students employ substitution, and we see za and tha commonly replaced with sa. So zoo becomes su, think becomes sink. The learner's pronunciation can be seen to deviate from the standard English, and they often don't register this acoustic difference. In English, there are tense vowels, lax vowels, long vowels, and short vowels. However, Habanese has no contrastive phonemes in tenseness or length. As a result, students in Northeast China can't distinguish the tense and length in vowels and struggle to hear the distinction. For example, they are always confused by sit and seat, which include different vowel lengths, but because of no similar phonological rules in Habanese, they recognize these words as the same. In the early stages of Chinese education in northeastern China, British English was the favored variety for English teaching. Gradually, however, American English has become the standard English variety for teaching. This also causes difficulties for Habanese speakers when pronouncing the tense and lax vowels, since this kind of distinction of vowels also exists in the American pronunciation system. For example, it is hard for Habanese speakers to distinguish the difference between I and La. This attributes to the lack of consciousness of the difference between tense and lax vowels. With world Englishes, there is an increasing acknowledgement of varieties of English pronunciation and accent. Learners no longer have to torment themselves to produce standard forms of English pronunciation, but should proudly embrace these incongruous sounds as they are an extension of our personal and group identities.